So I've just finished rigging up on Kira's beach this morning and it is pumping out there. I'm on a 4.5 meter Vogue and a 90 litre freestyle wave. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be set to full power. I'm going to ride along and I'll give you a few tips on how you can not just survive these strong winds and choppy conditions that I've got out there, but more importantly, how you can make the most and actually enjoy what's going on and have a little bit of fun at the same time. So stick with me. So a couple little points just to note to start with. What I've done is, firstly with tuning my kit, I've made sure I put an extra little bit of downhaul on the sail today. Not necessarily to depower it, but more to make sure that when the wind hits, and it's going to be a bit gusty, just as I get towards the wind line here, it's going to be a bit gusty. The last thing I want is too much punch or full power straight away. And that extra bit of downhaul is commonly seen as just to depower the sail, but actually it works really well to soften the drive of the power as well. Makes it a much softer, here's the first bit of wind, a much softer acceleration as that wind begins to hit me. Oh, that wasn't all the wind, that was just a gust. The other thing I've done is I put my boom up just a little bit before I set the outhaul, so it's slightly higher than normal. And I've done that for two reasons. Firstly, if the boom is a little bit higher, I'm going to be a little bit lower. I'm already going to be in a low, driving, Super 7 style stance, which is going to be a lot easier to control things as it starts to get windier and wavier like it is. Woohoo! First jump, lame. The other reason I put my boom up a little bit is because if I find I'm a bit overpowered when I get further out, I can just knock it down by a few inches, and that effectively will pull on a bit more downhaul and depower me as I go. Boy, this is great. So, I'm full power, here's a little ramp. Whee! So a few things to start with then. And the tips I'm going to give you will run from my head down to my feet. And it's the biggest tip I can give in any sort of windsurfing really. Look forwards, way, so you can preempt what is about to happen. Right now I'm reading the wind. That's why usually I'll be looking at you guys in the camera a lot. Today I'm very focused on the wind direction, what's happening up in front of me, and this choppy, uneven, wavy conditions that are coming into me just now. So look up into the wind, be aware of what's going on and predict your future, as it were. The next tip is about my hand placement. Now my front hand could definitely be further back, which will give me a little bit more power, but I'm deliberately depowering just a little bit. I've moved my hand slightly too far forwards. If I realise that when I'm out here, get back here camera, if I realise when I'm out here I want a bit more power, I can always bring it back to here, and I certainly will when I go for the jibe, which you'll see in a moment. My backhand isn't pulling too hard for power. The power is being guided through my front hand and through pulling through my hips, which kind of links me into the next one, which I need to adjust a little bit, this harness line. And make sure you check out other videos I've done. Sorry, camera's all over the place as you can imagine from this shot. Whee! Where was I? Harness lines, yeah, adjust them. This is sail, I'm pretty sure it's set up from yesterday's session, but that little tweak just then, and whee-hoo! Possibly a little bit more would help. Now I'm going to turn around and head back in. First turn of the day, I tend to make a tack, just to make sure I'm dry and everything's feeling good on the other side too. So let's go for that now. Check the space, read in that shot. Welcome to starboard tack. Oh, it's very messy chop on this side, all over the place. Nothing really clean enough to play with or ramp on. Not very nicely anyway. Right, no, not that one. Now, then I mentioned my hips and my harness is just there, and To really start to control yourself and feel comfortable in these strong winds, the way we use our harness and our hips and ultimately affect the way we stand is what can make a challenging conditions become a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable. And so one of the tricks I'm doing to make sure I can actually drop my hips and get down low enough, you'll see this now I've said it, is my hands are working together. I say that, my harness lines are wrong. My hands are working together to basically depower the front hand, pull it in slightly, before then driving that power back on once again. So actually what I'm trying to do deliberately is sheet out so that I get a little bit lower to the water, probably skew into the wind a little bit, which will depower me, then push for that power once again. Now the better you get at this, the more subtle it will be. And that key thing again, depower using your front hand so that you fall backwards just a little bit. Then power up once again, by which time you'll be in a much lower stance. You'll be depowered and you'll find it easier to get back up with. Power up. Now I've been doing this the whole time, but a little bit more subtly to bring you down a little bit so you can see probably a little bit clearer there. Depower, head up wind. As we move further down and talking about what I'm doing and how my hands, harness and hips are working together there, the feet start to become more important too. Link into that whole process. Because as I depower, I deliberately point up into the wind a little bit, whilst dropping back into the harness with my hips. I also use my feet. Firstly, my back foot to skew that more deliberately quickly towards the wind, and then driving through that front foot to push the power on once again and accelerate. Just going to adjust the camera. I'll make a jibe. Now what I'm not saying, just to clarify, is your front hand should be bent all the time. I want your front arm working and pushing to get the power back on, but you can't just put the power on and try and get into a good stance. Often I need to depower first so that I can get into a good stance. It's just a different way of looking at what I'm doing here. Riding through the chop. Those key tips, again, just to make sure we've got this correct. Set up your kit nicely. Make sure you've got a decent bit of downhaul on. Loosening that leech, not necessarily depowering the sail much, but softening the power of the sail. Put my boom up a little bit. I haven't actually needed to move it back down again, but if I wanted to, moving that boom down will drastically affect how much outhaul is on the sail. And it's one quick and easy way on the water of depowering for being a little bit more comfortable. Head, looking up into the wind, predicting what's going on, looking for the gusts, looking for the ramps to play with, so you really know what's going on up ahead of you. Depending on how powered up you are will depend on how far forward or back you put your front hand. Generally, 9 times out of 10, I'm encouraging people to bring their front hand further back. Whee! Further back will give you more power for less energy. However, if you're really powered up, you may move it just slightly further forwards to help you depower just a little bit. And then with that front hand, woo! After that jump, with the front hand, I'm using the front hand as an instant depower allowing me to get my hips lower, drive through the harness, and therefore in a good low stance to control the extra wave, the extra wind and challenging conditions. My feet, my back foot drives hard as I drop down lower, which will take me into the wind, depower me, and slow me down. My front foot driving is accelerating me, keeping me on the plane, by possibly riding down the face of a wave or some chop, or in this case, getting into a jibe. Staying low, you can see that chop looking through the sail. The whole way around there, because it's so choppy, you can't just stand in one position. I really had to work the board, soften at the knees, and ride it. There's no other way to say it. I'm not just standing on the board and letting it take me for a ride or an out of control blast downwind. I'm the one that's controlling the board, the trim of the board, the pitch of the board. Am I coming down a wave and need to stand a bit further back or put my weight further back? Or actually, do I need to get a bit further forward and keep the board flatter? The wind's a little bit softer just now. Nicely powered up. You see I've adjusted my hands. I've come a little bit closer together here. And that front hand has definitely come a bit further back. It's a good sign the harness lines are set. Whoa, or not as I hit a wave. Going against my own target there. My harness lines are set correctly. Just hit a wave as I did that. Speaking of which, if you can't laugh at yourself, right? What was I saying? My arms have come together. Just because it's a little bit more comfortable. I'm not super stacked, super out of control. But I am playing with the chop. And I am riding the board. Soft knees. Changing the pressure from my front to my back foot. There's a bit of back foot pressure to miss a kite surfer. That's me almost round them. A bit of front foot pressure drives me back downwind. Front foot pressure upwind. Sorry, that was back foot pressure upwind to get my back foot out and accelerate into a duck jibe. Hey, here comes a nice bit of wind. There and away, having a bit of fun. Upwind around the kite surfer. You know what? I guess my final tip to leave you with today: make sure you're having fun. Windsurfing is not supposed to be a stressful battle. I make a point of anyone I see on the water, anyone I'm near or cruising by, give them a smile and a wave. Make sure it's a fun atmosphere on the water, which is exactly what it is here today. It's just grins from ear to ear as I arrived on the beach, a little bit later than I meant to. The first session was already out, with a few of the team having a play. I'd say a little bit later than I meant to. It was still about 7:30 in the morning, so well before we opened the centre. But that's it for today. Thank you again for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And that final tip, whatever you're doing, wherever you're windsurfing and whatever the conditions, make sure you're having fun. And see you next time. Riding the waves! Woohoo! Power on!